We all set, Chris? Oh, both lights are on.
All set.
All right, thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Time being 5:47, I'd like to call the Economic Development Subcommittee meeting for November 20th, 2024 to order. The meeting will be held at the Municipal Building, Council Chamber, second floor at the Municipal Building. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live Town Hall TV YouTube channel. I don't know why I always choke over that. Or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall YouTube channel that's shown on repeat on Comcast 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 1-929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the information provided on the agenda on the Town Hall website. The Zoom webinar ID number is 894-6734-5095. Click on the link, put that number in, and any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Okay. Amy, would you like to start off on item 1, marketing and branding project?
Sure, I would be happy to. Thank you very much. Just wanted to let everyone know that the branding project is moving along nicely. We've had several months of meetings so far. We also, just a reminder, did a community survey and had over 500 responses to the survey. At our last meeting, our designer, AJ Rebecki, presented revised designs. And then based on the feedback he received after the last meeting, he's back tonight with a final round of designs. So just wanted to remind everyone that the branding project is being funded through a state economic development earmark, which was enacted by Governor Baker in November of 2022 and cannot be used for any other municipal purposes. Also want to just make a note, because there were questions that this is not replacing the seal or getting rid of the seal. The official town seal will still be used for formal use in official documents and will be visually enhanced as part of this project, because the current one we use it in various different formats and not everyone's using the same one. So we're hoping to make sure that we're streamlining the seal as well. And with that, I will hand it over to AJ Rebecki, our designer, for a presentation.
Cool. Thanks, Amy. And
Good
thank you,
evening,
everyone.
AJ.
Hi. Well, thank you. I just want to thank you all for, it's been almost 72 days since we started kickoff on this work. And since then, we've just made so much progress, from the initial meetings that we had to dissecting data to understanding the sentiment of the town to creating, the new town manifesto, a tagline, and then through this kind of logo work. There's a lot that's been accomplished in the last 72 days, and I thank you all here for helping move this along. And hopefully tonight is going to be, a really good opportunity to kind of give a big thumbs up to move forward and to build this out to kind of the next steps. So let's recap. At the last meeting, we decided that, this is the look and feel and what we're trying to go for. We had some feedback from the EDC members, as well as some other external feedback that was to do a few things, right? We're going to review the entire logo package to see what everything looks like together, right? We're also going to explore some seal variations like Amy was talking about. We're cleaning up the town seal, and I've created a couple different variations that we're going to look at to see how that works and looks. And we're also going to look at logo responsiveness to make sure that even in the smallest of areas, whether that's on the website or on a profile image, the visual identity of the town comes through. And then we'll go through approval, sign off, and next steps. So here is the full logo suite. So on the left-hand side is the logo mark, which is the big old shield that we've been talking about for the last, probably 50 of the last 72 days. We've also brought back the 1778 variation. We've had a lot of really good feedback around this kind of heritage variation lockup. So we've brought that back. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that that can be used. And then this is all of the different variations of the logo, which we call lockups. So depending on where this is going, what form factor it needs to fit in, whether it's a square space, a rectangle space, a long space, a short space, a tall space, there's a whole bunch of different variations that no one will ever feel like they don't have the right tool to complete that job that they need to do. So there's a stacked version, there's a horizontal version, there's a square version. In the top right-hand corner, there's variations to see how sub-branding for different departments fit within that. There's one for 2 lines if you want to include department of. There's a single line version if you want to streamline that down into a shorter version. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, there are type marks, which if there's an opportunity where image cannot be used, there are text-only versions that fit a multitude of different sizes and variations that can be used. And just to remind people what this might look like. So on the side of a DPW truck, and new business cards and letterheads. And of course, what it looks like on swag, because I think when people see something that's new and exciting and bold and it's up for sale, people love to buy it. Last week we talked about color, and there was a little bit of we had to make sure that the color palette we chose to represent the visual identity fit within some of the other projects that were going along, specifically the website redesign project. So here is kind of a finalized palette of what that might look like. So there are 2 core colors, this navy and this sage. And then within the navy, there's a lighter blue for kind of a tonal variation. And then I also added this darker green, this forest, to add a little bit of contrast. So for ADA compliance and for people with visibility issues, there will always be a logo that meets correct ADA compliance to make sure that they can see what is being shown. And then there's also this kind of harvest gold, this wheat color that's going to be an accent color. And you can see how it looks like on the blue, on the navy below. It really pops, and it really reinforces this idea of like heritage and legacy that I think works really well. I've also included on the top just different variations and ways that color interacts with each other, right? Whether that's a 1-color logo, a 2-color logo, or a 3-color logo, to see how it all kind of fits together. Responsiveness is something that we've been talking about since the first concepts that's been put out there. And responsiveness is basically like at the biggest size logo down to the smallest avatar, does the idea of the visual identity make its way down? So I have presented 3 options tonight of responsiveness logos that will be the smallest variation of the logo mark that you would see. The first on the left is what I'm calling just a straight up variation of the shield. It leans into the architecture that we see in the high school and in the library to create just a nice intricate line work version that still works in very small sizes. The second one takes a kind of, it lends that stylized F from the of and puts it in the shield shape to have a little bit more grace and some variation, but again, works super small in the smallest size. And the last version of a responsive logo is this kind of, this hearty yet refined F. I think the feedback that I got last time when I showed a variation of the F was people liked it. It was just a little bit too thick and a little bit aggressive. So to deal with that feedback, I made sure that F was a little bit more pared down and a little bit easier on the eyes, so to speak. Now, what this might look like, so on the bottom of the page is what it might look like as an app icon if you bookmark the Franklin website on your mobile phone. I also wanted to include what that mark, the tiny responsive logo, might look like next to text, just to see if there's any kind of ideas or kind of any, you know, ones that stick out once you can see it next to the main logo and to type itself. So we will go back and we can discuss this about next steps. And the last thing I did was I did some more work on the town seal. So I wanted to present 3 options today. The one on the left-hand side is as close to the current like lino cut town seal that it is today. It is all the details, it has been in all of its glory, wrinkles and all, and is very close to what the current seal is today. The one in the middle is pared down. Any sort of intricate lines that weren't necessary to build out the face or the shirt or any of that has been removed, so it's a little bit easier to see. And the last one, which I think I thought was a no-brainer when I first saw the seal, is if you looked at this and said, is that Ben Franklin? I wouldn't know unless, you know, the name Town of Franklin was around it. Pop culture and the cultural zeitgeist, Ben Franklin is known for his monocle glasses, so I wanted to include a version that gave Ben his signature glasses to make it easier to understand that this is in fact Ben if the Town of Franklin words were not around it. And then I created 2 different seal variations based on the 3 Bens. The top one is very close to what the current seal is now, with the incorporated and the date on the bottom. And then on the bottom row, what I wanted to do was incorporate this idea of 1778. I think that bold type, which we saw in that like Heritage 1778 logo, works really well. And I just wanted to find another way that I could bring it in so it kind of ties the whole package together. Now, I'm not saying that we have to go with this town seal, but I wanted to show also what all 3 logos look like together, right? You have the new town logo, you have the official Commonwealth seal, and then the town athletics, where you have this like really good understanding visually what each thing is and what lane it occupies. Right? There is a tie-in with a shield shape between the town logo and the town athletics. The fonts are the same, and it just creates a really good unified package that, again, works really well together, but also stays in its lane, and you know who's it from and what's it for. Questions?
Keep going.
Oh, well, that's the end of the presentation.
You're just like looking at your pictures.
I know. Does anyone have any questions for AJ? Colby?
Yeah, appreciate all of this. Going to the, you know, in terms of the distilled, I have a strong preference for option B. I think that the F allows it to exist in isolation while still being tied to Franklin. I like that the Fs are clearly tied to the logo as opposed to the other F, you know, having a different typeface. And I think it's quaint and in line with the feel of the logo and that we've been trying to work toward across all the logos. Yeah, so that's my first. If you're looking for feedback, that's my first preference. Happy to let that be discussed or go through all my preferences.
I think Brian wants to, you want to talk about the F?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So, through you, Madam Chair, to I guess Kobe. So you like the middle, the lowercase f?
Yeah.
Okay. I personally kind of like the bolder the bigger F. Just when it's on, when it's on a piece of clothing or when it's on, Madam Chair, is that gonna, which one's gonna be on the vehicles for the town?
I believe it will be the full seal. Is that correct, AJ?
Yeah, it would be something along the lines of one of these that are on the vehicle.
It will be either the seal or the logo. We don't really know.
Yep.
what-
So this F
Thank you.
piece is really only gonna be, if you think of like the top of a Chrome tab, like an internet tab, where it's got that little thing, or like an app. I think it's gonna be very small uses.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a central piece.
Like on the Instagram, Town of Franklin Instagram or Facebook page, where like you only have this much to work with. It's like a very distilled version down, and you will see it only in very small instances like that, like the Chrome tab to see what website you're on, the bookmark tab when you bookmark it, or like on the Facebook profile picture, because you only have so much small space to work with.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
that does. Now, just my 2 cents, I actually kind of like the bifocals a little bit. It does, it says, and Franklin. I didn't think I would like that, but I do like that one. And we can discuss that further, that's just my 2 cents.
Oh,
And because I missed that last meeting,
yeah.
this one on the top left, that's what you would like to bring to the council?
No, these are all the shield that we picked from last meeting, from last week. So it has less leaves, right? They're all the same except for the bottom. So what you see is a repeat, except for the bottom piece is the little small, right, AJ?
Yep.
What do we call that thing down there at the bottom? That's like the Instagram page.
Like a favicon, I guess would be the
Favicon.
correct terminology
Might
for
have
it.
we asked for.
So this was what we picked out of all of the changes that AJ came up with last week to move forward with for this week.
Okay, so when you're gonna have your jacket from Franklin,
Mhm.
it's just gonna have the leaves.
It's gonna be, you wanna go back to the,
I'm sorry, I'm just a little.
Yeah.
This is important.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's gonna be,
well, I like the one that says 1778 on it, basically, really, but,
All of
Yeah.
this is part of the same logo package.
yeah, this is all the logo package that will be included for handoff, right? And part of the work when it comes to the build out with the brand guidelines is, okay, I have apparel or I have a vehicle wrap and I have this much space to work with. Which one of these is the one that's going to fit that as part of the brand guidelines?
Brian has this chair, the floor still.
Okay, so I do like that 1778. But I thank you for getting me back up to speed, because I was not here. I wish I was.
Yeah, you missed it, that's
but-
the one we
Yeah,
picked, so.
yeah, no, I know,
But I think it was the one that, I think. when
this
I
still
showed-
goes to the council, though, right?
When I showed it to you, you were like that was, okay,
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chair, thank you.
thank you. Patrick?
So go back that way just for, so, go back farther to the one where he says all the different options.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the new seal with all different logo, right, logo.
yep,
And we're not gonna choose one of those, or
you get all of them.
you got all of them, so they're all different options. So you don't-
They're all part of the deal.
So some cases there might not be this logo, it might be just Town of Franklin, like you said.
It just might be
Yeah.
Town of Franklin. At some
Okay.
points, it might just be the big shield in the top left-hand corner. Like I said, part of the build-out in the brand guidelines is understanding like, okay, you have this whole suite now that you can use. When is appropriate to
Okay.
use this versus that versus the other thing?
So could you show the town truck again?
Yeah.
What that look like? Okay. And does that have the year on it?
That does not, nope, that's just the,
Or what does it
the,
say at the bottom?
it just says Department of Public
Okay.
Works. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. I prefer that actually, I like the capital B too, because it kind of reminds me of the Boston thing. You know, the big B. Capital F,
You like the capital F?
it's kind of like Boston as the rules.
I was gonna ask, okay. AJ,
Yes.
do we know, does the school district have, do they go down to this small, what was it again?
Oh, a favicon, emoticon?
Favicon?
No, from what I saw on the school website, they use, I believe, what's the term? Their logo is called a certain thing. Portrait of a graduate.
Yeah,
And then it goes down to some sort of like F thing, but it's just a generic, there's nothing that seems like it ties in all together.
okay, so it's not like an F in the shield.
Not from what I saw.
Oh,
It's like a compass, I
a
think.
I think it's a
Is it the
compass.
compass?
Yeah, that's
We're gonna ask
Thanks.
Steve Schiller. Oh, it's an F. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia. If you go to the schools page, the sports do have the Panther, but they also have an academic version that they use for clearly all the academic pieces, you know, the Decker Awards and other things. And I wasn't sure if you had seen that as well, because they don't use it that much. Clearly, there's an awful lot on the sports with the Panther, but they do have the academic, which coincidentally is closer to kind of the shield piece that you already have. You may have found
You
it.
had used it in some of your presentations.
I think so, yeah. Forgive me, it's been,
I know.
Yeah,
It's okay, so
it was a few months. Yeah.
okay. So for me, when I look at the favicons, we'll get it right eventually. You know, the capital F, I worry that it looks a lot like the schools. That people might, but does it really matter? Like I don't know, it's still Franklin, right?
Yeah, I guess my pushback here, and that would also be part of the build out too, is do we want to pull in the Franklin Public Schools into the town branding? Because it's technically under the same umbrella, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I look at those and I like both of them, so I don't know, I'm not convinced either way. I like them both. If we pick either one, I'd be really happy with either one of them. I do like the shield with Ben Franklin's glasses.
Okay. Which we can get to.
I
The
mean,
seal.
the
Seal.
The seal. Let me make sure I use the
Yeah.
correct
Yeah.
grammar, right? And it's exactly what Brian said, Councilor Chambliss said. You identify him immediately. And I think one of the projects, one of the goals for this is to have things to be recognizable immediately, right? You don't even have to read the words. And so that's why I really like that with the glasses.
I usually recognize Ben Franklin by the bags under his eyes. Really worried about losing.
Good point.
Does Kobe, you want to continue?
Yeah, so then I wanted to provide my preferences here, which were, I think we're all, I think the glasses are great, and I think it's a clean look, and I think that it's recognizable as him. I like that it's a cleaner face in general. I would prefer one of the refined versions over the original. As soon as, you know, I want to both respect the tradition of like, okay, here's the seal, like why mess with it too much? And we're not messing with it that much, but while we're in the game of refining it, like let's refine all of it. Why would we say that the face is any, you know, more that we can't touch? And there's a chance that glasses are a step too far and fine, you know. That I would be willing to put C forward from the council, would like B to be the fallback as opposed to A. Because either way, we're going in, we're touching up we're touching up the widths of the lines, we're touching up the fonts. I like the addition of the 1778 to tie between the seal and the logo. And let's clean up the face while we're at it. I like the glasses.
Cool. I like how it's cleaned up, because when it gets smaller, it gets blurry, and since it's clean now, I think it'll be easier see what it is.
What I've noticed too about the current seal, like if it was trash day on Monday and I was bringing my trash out, is that the original seal too was never properly inverted. So it's just like white blobs on like the green trash thing. So part of this too for handoff is I've also made a correct version where it's inversed correctly. So if it's white printed on a darker color, you can still understand that it's Ben Franklin without having to squint or realize that it's somebody else.
I think you're engaging with your trash pickup a little differently than most.
I think it's
I know, it just doesn't
because
stop.
He looks at logos and seals all over the place,
Yep.
right? You can't help it, it's like a curse. Anything else?
I kind of agree with you, I'm happy with either F.
Either F?
Yeah.
Can I pitch you on the lowercase f?
Yeah.
Okay. What I get from the far right is an F that I've seen before. I think prep school, I just think that it's generic. It like is generally an F on a seal, and the actual font of the F does not clearly tie itself to any part of the logo or anything that we've seen. The F on the left is clearly in the same feeling of the town seal, which is a little quainter, a little more traditional. It is the actual F that's being used within the logo. It stands out a little bit more. I think it's classier and cleaner and a little bit more unique than your generic, name a prep school that starts with an F.
Yeah, you probably could find a prep school with that logo.
Yeah, that's why I asked about the schools, like what did they have?
Don't they have their own logo though?
They do, but it has an F, and I mean, Brian,
Let's see. Done?
We can't change the school logo, can we? Right? We can't.
well, I mean, it's just one, I don't know, that's not. Brian,
I think when we were looking at that smaller, the lowercase f earlier, it was more like, it had that Facebook feel to it. I think that was what was
Yeah,
turning
yeah.
me off.
Agreed.
yeah,
That was the one thing that, I think that's the first thing people might think of. I don't know, which I don't really want to think of, but that's just what comes to me first. I'm just giving, again, opinions.
No.
I agree with a lot of what Councilor Frangillo said, though.
that's, I agree with you, but that
Yeah.
first F, that was kind of fancy.
Yeah,
Right.
artsy, I think was the correct
Artsy.
terminology that was
one,
used.
To me, it like reminded me of a sports equipment logo or something, like a Fila or something like that, so I didn't,
Maybe Franklin Sports?
know. So that's a Franklin, like,
Yeah.
but that's okay, I like I like the small F, I like the italic, I like that it's different. And so I'm okay with it.
Okay.
What about you, Brian, you okay?
I'll be okay with that one.
Look,
Patrick? Oh,
I found a prep school there.
oh, it's, yeah. You're okay with the,
Yeah.
the lowercase f?
Yeah.
Do you want us to vote on it,
That's the
or
one.
you want us to vote on it? Okay, so, I take a motion to
This one.
accept, B. Is it B?
It's B.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
We haven't voted on, we didn't vote on the leaf, though, right? We just voted on the F?
We already voted on the shield. Is that what you mean by the leaf?
Yeah.
But I'd
When was
love
that
your,
voted
I'd
on?
love your
We voted that
feedback.
tonight, or that was yet the last meeting?
The last meeting.
Okay, yeah, this isn't the place to say that. I guess the only place to say it would be when it comes to the council, because it's already voted on. I missed that meeting, that's okay, that's,
You did?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I will be saying my piece at the council meeting then.
Do you have feelings that, are there modifications, are there, considerations that you think we might be missing out on?
You want to go back to that?
I just don't understand it, Franklin, where that's gonna be on the truck. Like,
It might not be, we might not put the logo on trucks. We haven't decided where it's gonna go yet.
Might still be the seal.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is there something about the logo that you wanted us to think about before that we haven't discussed yet? I guess.
It's still not working for you. So,
Again, you guys, you already went through this, this is a moot point. This
All
is,
right, all right.
I mean, well, it's gonna come up at the meeting, that's all
I
I'm
would
gonna
just
say.
say that we move forward with this logo because the feedback we received from the town council as well as the EDC, between the three logos, was that everyone seemed to really like this one the most. So what we did at the last meeting was bring this one back and refined it a little bit, because I think what we had heard was it might be a little bit too busy, so we took some of the busyness out of it and, made some additional refinements. I think the outer layer of it was bolder, so AJ kind of narrowed that down a little bit, and then he brought that back. So the recommendation was to keep refining the first one out of the three, and then move forward with that one.
Right.
Okay.
right,
And it will
okay.
say Town of Franklin next to the,
yeah, can you go back to the first slide? Yeah. That's kind of it is cleanest.
That should be it. That-
right,
So we went from that to that in the last meeting.
okay. Yeah, no, again, I was not here, I didn't see how that says Franklin, that's all. Maybe some other people will agree,
Well,
maybe they
you could
won't.
put the town of Franklin on there, or we can go back to the other
Well,
option.
okay, so I'm just gonna clarify one thing.
Please.
The last meeting that Brian was here, we had the three separate logos, the one that you thought looked like a tattoo,
That last one, yeah.
right? So, and you picked the shield, so we all picked the shield, and then AJ took it and refined it. And that, you missed the refined step of the
Yes, I did.
shield. So, but that's.
Yeah, no, I get one other bite at the apple and that's it, I
The
get
chair.
that.
Madam Chair.
So, but I just wanted you to understand, like, that was the step.
Yep.
So we had already picked this one.
It's understood.
It's okay, it's okay. I was gonna go out to the audience because there was a hand up there, so, okay?
Yep.
Name and address, please?
Lisa Piana, 6 Matthew Drive. Again, as Brian had mentioned, like, I also missed the meeting, and I apologize. I had some good reasons, but I won't go into those. But this is really important, the branding. So for those of other people who may have missed those meetings, could you just give like maybe a 3-minute summary of how this logo represents Franklin opposed to Wellesley or Bellingham? I'm guessing maybe that is a book on the bottom, I don't know, but if you can just give some background as to, and I think that's kind of what Brian was saying, I don't want to,
No,
just
thank
kind
you.
of like, why does that represent Franklin? And my other question is, how did the committee decide to put in town of in the seal? What was just the reasoning to put the words town of instead of Franklin, Massachusetts? Just curious. And again, I apologize because, being on a committee when somebody comes in on the fourth and asks questions. But I think there's other people out there too, besides me, who may not have been in those meetings, so.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Do you mean Town of Franklin on the logo or in the seal?
Logo, seal is separate.
I was thinking of both, but both. I mean, I think, I'm just curious on both.
Okay.
Again, I'm sure there was conversations on why that was put in, and I missed that. On both, the seal and the logo.
So AJ, do you want to take the first?
Yeah, I can try to give a summation of most, if not all of it, and then we can kind of go from there. So part of the findings that we did for the brand fundamentals was distilling what are the things that people are passionate about, and when they think about Franklin, what comes to mind. And there was a few big ones. There was 3 ones that stuck out that I believed was the best way to create some imagery that goes around it. The first one was a love for green and open spaces, which you see with the flourishing tree that kind of fills the top half of the logo mark itself. The second one was this intricate and almost part of Franklin's DNA pursuit of education. So you have a book that kind of is the foundation that the tree falls into. And then the last part was this idea of institutional foundation, this heritage, that Franklin has this rich history. Well, it's really hard to do a literal representation of that outside of a picture of Ben Franklin, which we have as the town seal anyways. My play on that and that take on that was to create some sort of foundation at the bottom of the logo that could tie into a part of Franklin. And I chose some of the architecture that you see in both the library and in the high school, which has these really neat crossed X versions. Now, X's in a logo, if they're front and center, can be quite, I guess the opposite of disarming would be arming and aggressive. So by putting them on the bottom third, if not quarter, creates a nice foundation that it sits in that gives a nod without being too on the nose. As of Town of Franklin, that is the way that the town has been written out and represented for as far back as I can know. As we've seen from town council meetings and from some of the public opinion, the idea of change in this kind of state we're in today, I wanted to keep some parts of the logo and the way it represented it, in this case the name, close to what people know and is familiar, to minimize blowback and to make sure that people could be on board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did that answer your questions?
Yes.
Lisa? Thanks. Colby?
I do think that when we present this, if you could retouch the various pieces that put this together, I really liked that slide where you kind of highlighted each of them and the theme that it was speaking to. You know what I'm talking about.
Totally.
I think that would be definitely helpful to walk through again. And yeah, but I want to make sure that we're creating a space for. I mean, we are gonna. This eventually will, get out to a lot more eyes than it has been today, and there's going to be a lot more dislike of it than we've encountered today, and we think a lot more like of it than there will be dislike. But we certainly can't run away from pushback and consideration. So I would say, please, like, hey, this isn't working for me, and for these reasons, then please keep feeling safe expressing those. Yeah.
Amy?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to also mention that a lot of this came through, AJ looked at all of the survey results. So people sent, filled out the surveys, we received, numerous responses. So I think he used a lot of the feedback that we received in the surveys to create this design. And he did walk through some of that, some of those results and how we came to that in our presentations here at the EDC, which are all on the EDC website under the branding project. So if people are interested in going back and looking at those videos and seeing how AJ created these designs, it's a really helpful resource as well. So.
It's a great point, Amy. Really, the presentation about the survey results was really important to get, so you get your base to see where we got to,
Yeah.
where we are today. And maybe we need to make it a little bit easier for people to find. I don't know, I haven't even looked for it myself, so I don't know how easy it is to find, but.
I'll add a few things, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think there's a few things. So, Councilor Frangillo, I think bringing back, I call it show your math, bringing back some of the how did you get to here as part of the council meeting next month is very important, and I think that is in massive consideration. The second thing is, logos that represent ideas and feelings are tough, right? Because everyone is looking for a true literal interpretation, but when there's so many layers to something, you kind of have to be able to let people get there by themselves in some regard, right? And making sure that they can see aspects of the logo in themselves and their experiences. And because of that, right, is that at the end of the day, and we talked about this before, my goal was a do no harm approach, is that I didn't want someone, a citizen, to look at this and say, well, this is completely wrong, or it's offensive, or, you know, it's
Doesn't represent.
like it's a do no harm approach for a township, right? And my goal here was to create something that is balanced, that is stoic, that is interchangeable, that has legs, and that could be scaled to the tallest building, to the smallest thing, and make sure that it still works over and over and over again. Now, I feel like I'm kind of pleading my case, which I don't have to, right? Because, you know, this is part of the scope of the work and this is here. But part of this is, as a resident too, is that I have to see this every day. And I have to make sure that when I go outside and I see a truck or I see a trash bin, like there's pride there in not only the work that I did, but also making sure that I represent the town correctly. And I feel like after 72 days, I feel like we got to a really good spot here. But again, it's up to the EDC and ultimately the town council to make sure that that's the case.
Thank you, AJ. Amy, is there anything?
No, so, I mean, I guess the next steps would be that the EDC would make a recommendation to the council at their next meeting, which will be the 18th of December, you know, after tonight's meeting. And then the council would vote on that, so.
Okay, so that's December 18th.
Correct.
AJ, is there anything else that you need to know from us tonight?
So there was a vote on the Favicon, which was the
Yeah.
middle one, option B.
Yeah.
The last one would be Mr. Ben. So it's A1, B1, C1 on the top, and then A2, B2, and C2 on the bottom row.
Motion to recommend.
I was gonna say,
Option C2.
is there a second?
Second, yeah.
All right, which one is that one?
The one on the bottom with the date and the.
C2.
Glasses
along
and
with the
date.
glasses, And
And
that
date,
will be
too.
our recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Question.
Oh. Go ahead.
We're voting on this, and then we're voting again to bring it to the council, correct? Or is this the last vote to send it to the council?
I don't know do you want more votes?
I mean, I would make, based on the feedback, I would say that the recommendation of the EDC is, you know, what we've been refining, but if
Right.
you want to do a full recommendation, we can do that as well.
Full package.
Yeah. So with the lower F, the C2 option, and then the shield seal.
Okay, and I guess does that answer your question, Brian?
It does, I wanted to have an opportunity besides this, that's all, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so all in favor of C2, is that right?
Yeah.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, so C2 will go in the recommendation,
Great.
okay?
Mhm.
And then we will, I would accept a motion to recommend the package as a whole of what we picked tonight to go to the town council.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor signify by saying aye.
no.
Opposed? 1. 3 to 1.
So we could have a united front, could we wait another week till the next meeting to move it to the council? So I can have a chance to understand some of this, or? Okay, you know what, let's just move it.
I'm trying to understand like where are your hesitations, what pieces aren't working for you? Like, I want you to have a space that you feel comfortable expressing those, and why does that need to be another
And
room?
also, Brian, we want to understand what it
Yeah.
is. Can you,
Look, everyone's done a lot of work, but
it's okay.
when I first saw that, I thought it was, I didn't know it was gonna have that stuff. All right, that logo I thought was gonna be how the logo would be. I didn't know that that was what was gonna be in it. I actually thought that it was gonna be Ben Franklin in it. That was where my misunderstanding was.
That's still
The
the seal.
shield?
Yeah. We'll have Ben Franklin and that, but that's not how it is.
Right.
So you'll be able to sell it to the council and it'll be fine.
But you would prefer a logo with Ben
Well, no,
Franklin?
not so much that, just something that is more Franklin. I don't see how that says Franklin. Like, he explained some of that, but, so we don't hurt anybody's feel, I don't.
What would be more Franklin in a logo? I mean, when I think of Franklin, I think of greenery, I think of certainly the first public library, I think of,
Right,
this
I'm not
institution
seeing a
that's-
book.
That's historic and, forward-looking. You didn't see the book? Okay.
Okay. I think it's one of
No,
those
it's-
things, right? That-
Yeah,
Do you
no,
have
I mean,
the book?
Yeah, these are the different pieces of it.
I just want, Brian, I just want to make sure that you
Right,
see
'cause
what
you
we
don't-
see. So at least you know what we see, or,
I do.
because I want you to see it.
And I will have some time to digest this before the council meeting,
Okay,
so,
Okay.
all right. You can ask questions.
yep.
Okay. All right. I think that was a little backwards, but that's okay. We already voted. So, AJ, thank you so much for all the work. Amy and Corey's not here, but thank you all for all your hard work. And I can't believe it's been 72 days since we started to interview people, or maybe it was a little bit before that when we started to interview people, but thank you so much,
Yes.
AJ.
Oh, you're welcome.
You've done an amazing amount of work for us. And with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks for watching, everyone.